Electricast. Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudette, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie, and I'm really excited to speak to my next guest. Today, we're talking with Candy Kellen. Candy, along with her husband, Gary, have dedicated a good amount of their 25 years of marriage to teaching and supporting married couples, drawing from a variety of their experiences in Kenya, Rwanda, and big and small town USA. Their commitment for helping marriages grew even stronger when Candy had an aha moment to reach more couples. Let's bring what we do online. This realization led them to establish their company, Building Stronger Marriages. Before founding Building Stronger Marriages, Candy and Gary connected with thousands of couples in groups and in person, providing valuable tools, sharing personal and others' stories, and offering practical exercises and resources for married couples. Candy and Gary deeply care about your marriage and want to help you become more prepared for any challenges that may arise. They believe in guiding couples towards growth and want you to know that you don't have to face the ups and downs of marriage alone. Recognizing the value of learning from one another, they encourage community and continue to actively build an online marriage community where couples can connect, share, seek support, and find encouragement. Candy also shares insightful tips, marriage quotes, and personal stories in her series, Marriage Moments in a Minute. As members of their community, couples will not only have access to Candy and Gary's experience, but will also benefit from group coaching, interactive Q&A sessions, live challenges, and more. Because Candy and Gary are committed to their marriage community, they actively listen to their members' thoughts and suggestions so they stay true to their goals of meeting married couples' needs as well as helping them feel right at home. I have had the pleasure of knowing Candy for just a few short months, but I have enjoyed getting to know her more, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today. So let's talk to this beautiful lady. Welcome, Candy. It's great having you on the show today.
Hi, Leslie. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for saying yes. So let's start first by getting to know you a little bit better. Please share a little bit about your life and how you grew up, and then we'll segue into what you're currently doing today. So the floor is yours.
Okay. I grew up, well, some people say I never grew up, but I was raised on a farm in small town, Minnesota. And I had 3 older brothers. I had wonderful parents I was blessed with, and I was a tomboy. I did a lot of sports. I maybe having the 3 older brothers is why. We had a really neat community. So I was happy with my childhood. And can't say thank you enough to those who were part of it.
Awesome. But tell us a little bit more, like how you grew up. Like what were your hopes and dreams? I mean, I know we all have a backstory, right? So if you're willing to share that, we'd love to hear that.
Sure. Actually, I always thought I was going to be a teacher or a coach. In fact, if I go back to the hometown, people ask me what I've done before I started doing this online, and they're surprised I wasn't. But I guess I'm being true to my heart now because I am doing the coaching and I enjoy it. So as far as hopes and dreams, I always would do I'm the type of person that always does my best. And if I set my mind to something, even if somebody says I can't do it, I will. I can't. I guess I don't know how else to say it.
And that's okay. I know it can feel a little bit like you're thinking, well, how did I grow? Like, what was my life like? And I think the reason why I want to start there is because we all have a backstory, because we're all doing something today, obviously. We go through life growing up, having our peers, dreaming with our peers, deciding what we want to do with our lives. And then we go out into the real world and maybe what we talked about, we actually start doing, or maybe we find a roundabout way in our journey to get back to what we thought we wanted to do in the first place. So that's kind of like why I wanted to start there first. So thank you for sharing that little bit about you. Let's talk about your business.
No problem.
Okay, so tell us more about what you do and how you discovered your passion and purpose and what steps you took to pursue it.
Well, my husband and I have been married 25 years, and we can't remember a time where we didn't have a heart for marriages. So we've been helping marriages mostly through group settings. And it was just one day, it was kind of like, let's do this online, because we've been helping people. We've talked to thousands. We've talked to a few. Most of the time it's in groups. And it was like, we don't have to do this alone. Couples need to know that. And there's so many couples out there that we talk to or get in a conversation with, that why not learn from each other? Why not be there for each other? So that's why we're creating the marriage community. We really do care. And people say, well, may ask why you're doing this, but anybody that knows us doesn't ask that, because they know who we are and they understand that we will do all we can to guide and to walk alongside and to hopefully help them be prepared for not if, but when something happens in their marriage, so that they will be able to maybe move through that difficulty easier and faster, hopefully. And also, like I said, the community, because we do what we do, we're part of a lot of communities online. And I want those married couples to know how important that is, so we can maybe establish connections, or we can help them with just seeking out what they need. Or maybe one of the things we say is, help us help marriages, and then help us help your marriage. So it's hard not to want to do this for us, because it is so deeply ingrained in our hearts.
And I love that. And so one of the things you did touch on, and I'm curious, because you say a lot of people who know you know that this is your mission, this is your purpose in life. So how do you approach someone who might not know you, but clearly is looking for that support or needs a community to get that kind of support? What would you say to that person that doesn't know you? How would you ease them into your world?
That is a good question. If somebody doesn't know us, we would, first of all, it's a personal thing. And marriage is obviously very personal. So we want them to get to know us, to trust us, to realize that they can really trust us with anything that they say. We're not going to share. We usually do this in groups, like I said, but we have done plenty of one-on-one also, but our focus is groups. So when we introduce ourselves, and it's like, we're just here to help. We have a servant heart. We want to serve them. We want to see them build their marriage, because we are meant to be relational. And there's too many people out there trying to do it all by themselves. And we believe in why reinvent the wheel, because there is so many other people that can help you. And that's what we try to do, is bring in like what we've taught, bring in what other people have taught, give tools, exercises, do the marriage moments in a minute. We're hopefully going to be doing some live challenges soon. And it's just letting them know all that. And actually, first, before all that, we want to get to know them, because we can't help unless we know where they're coming from. What are their needs? And that's why we say we really do listen to our group, because it's not about us. If you look at our group, it's Building Stronger Marriages Together on Facebook. You'll see at the bottom, it says, your marriage, your community. And we wholeheartedly believe that, because it is about helping those married couples.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think you touched on the community part, is having each other as a community, helping each other through those times. Especially, it's like having that like-minded person in the room with you. They understand what it means to be married. So having someone who understands what it means to be married may not have the same perspectives, but might have the same experiences, and how can they help each other? So I like that. Having a community like that is really important, because I believe we're better together when we stand up with each other to help each
Absolutely.
other, you know, especially too, like when you hear in some of the weddings that I've been to, and one of them is like asking the community that they will support this new couple who are now embarking on a journey together. And because even though they say it takes a village, it really does. And the village is not necessarily that everyone's putting in their 2 cents, but it's having that support, that community to lean on. So I love that, what you're doing. So thank you for sharing that. So can you share a specific strategy or a mindset shift that's played a significant role in your success as a business owner?
It goes back. The strategy is, it may sound too simplistic, but it's helping those married couples. That's the strategy. And we really will put all the effort that we can into helping them. So, and I know that's not much of a business strategy. Both Gary and I, my husband, have a business background. So we're okay with setting up, the business plan and all that. But ultimately, our end goal is helping them grow stronger, because no matter where we're at in a marriage, we can get better. If you're struggling or if you're not, we have a good marriage. We're very thankful. Did we always? We've had struggles. We've went through a lot of challenges, and we want people to know that we're just human. We're just a regular couple. Well, some people say we're not regular, but anyway, we're just a regular couple that has experiences, that we have learned things, and we want to share that. And we know other people who want to do the same. And why not do that? I can't see not doing it, to be honest. I'm excited to be able to help. I look forward to when I can help. And so I don't know that I answered your question, but for lack of a better word, that's our strategy.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand that strategy piece, but what was the actual reason behind? Because usually there's, when we get into business, like, for example, I'll just give you the example of myself. I went through, some things in my life, and through my own self-development work is why I got into what I do, being a self-care coach. So as you and Gary have been married now 25 years, you decided at some point that you really wanted to help other marriages thrive. Was there something that perhaps both of you decided, there was that shift in your own lives that created the idea that we really want to help build these stronger marriages?
Well, I mentioned that we were in Rwanda and Kenya, and that, I think, was the flip of the switch that helped us see how important it is for people to hear. Because when somebody gets married, it's like we expect them to know what it's all about. And it's like too many people don't have a clue. And so that was a big start of the transition, I guess you could say. But what really happened that got us to where we are now is my husband and we're getting older, and it was like, well, we want to use the life that we have left on this earth to mean something, to have some value. And that's exactly, and we prayed about it. And within 2 days, somebody contacted us out of the blue about what we do for others. And it was kind of like, that's confirmation. It's exactly what we need to be doing. And my husband still works, but this is my job. And so when I need him to video or do something, or we talk about a lot of things together, but the decision was made that we're going to put investment into learning how to do this online and share to hopefully as many couples as we can what we know.
Yeah. And I like that. And that's where you had that shift, right? Because it's going through life married, and we've got, we're building our marriage, we're strengthening it. How can we help others? So there was that shift, like, okay, let's talk about this, let's take it to God, which is what you've done. And you received validation through someone reaching out to you saying, okay, yes, he's speaking to us. This is what he wants us to do. So like, let's look at how we can move forward through this. So I really, really appreciate that.
Actually, to be honest, it's not just that one time. It continues to be validated. It's been so neat. It's almost like we're sitting back watching this all take place, but we have to do the work. But it's really not work. It's our passion. So it continues to be validated. And so, the mindset that many people talk about, I'm very blessed that I don't have that, because I know we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so I can't doubt it. I can't question it, because it's been confirmed so many times. Does that make sense?
That's great. No, and I love that you even clarified it a little further, because that is, I think, where people get the most clarity, is when they start seeing that there's evidence supporting what they're doing. And that's exactly what you found. So awesome. Yes. So my next question is a two-part question around self-care. The first part of it is, what does self-care mean to you, and how do you prioritize it in your daily life?
Self-care actually means I'm strong in my faith. That's very, very important to me. And so my self-care is making sure that the good Lord is always on the forefront of everything I do. One of my prayers always is, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing and acceptable to you, O Lord. And I truly mean that. So actually, my self-care may be different than a lot of people, but we got to do what we feel we need. And if I don't spend my time in the morning with the Lord, with just reading or talking to him or sitting there and just taking him in, that's my self-care, honestly. It may sound odd, but yet on the other hand, it's what keeps my saw sharpened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and that's okay. And I think, you mentioned it about it might look different from others, and that's okay, because our self-care, what we do, and of course, I feel like self-care is, a lot of different little things that we do for ourselves, spending time together, nurturing our relationships, spending time with God. Yes, that's part of your self-care, and that fits your lifestyle. And I think it's really important that people recognize that it's not a one-size-fits-all model. It's how it fits into your life. And so I appreciate how you had said, like, this is me. And that's okay. That is exactly what it should be. It should be what works for Candy, not what works for everyone else,
Right.
So I appreciate that.
Well, and also part of it is just, my husband and I have a rule that we never go to bed angry. If we have something we need to deal with, we communicate and talk about it. Now, that doesn't mean there's still not hurt or there's still not frustration, but yet we wake up in a calm. Does that make sense? That tension isn't there because we dealt with it. And so part of my care too is we always kiss and hug and wish each other well, whatever it is that we do, we always make sure that that's part of our morning too. And I feel cared for when that happens. Does that make sense too?
Absolutely. And I think that, again, it comes down to the nurturing of relationships. And it's important. It's not just about all of the other things. Like, a lot of people look at self-care as being like mani-pedis and massages, getting your hair done, going out for a great lunch or buying themselves something. And those are great. Those are feel-good things. But, really, essentially, things like what you were saying, what really lights you up, what really marks your day for success is what is essential for you to have that beginning of your day where you're spending time with the Lord, and you're making sure that, you're right with him, and, utilizing your tools the way he sees it to make sure what you're doing is on point. Because again, the purpose, your mission comes from him. And then also, I think too, is making sure that you are taking care of each other. That's part of it, that's part of self-care. People don't recognize that nurturing essence of us is part of self-care. So truly, I like that you brought that up. One of the things I wanted to ask you is which is the second part of this self-care question, is throughout your day, making sure that you've structured your day in a way where you get, enough enough done that you feel satisfied, that you're also spending time with each other, all of those things. How do you find that balance perhaps between your personal and professional life? Again, because when you're working with couples, I know that it's not about sitting down for an hour and you're discussing something. I'm not really sure of what your entire process is, but when you are spending time with others, trying to help them go through that, timing wise, how does that balance between your personal and professional life with your self-care, making sure that you're not all consumed with this couple? I mean, you do want to be helping them, but you don't want to be all consumed where then it takes away from your well-being. You want to be able to still serve and be able to give them the tips and the tools that they need to be able to implement themselves, because it's not about codependency. It's about them learning to be able to take that back home with them. So how do you find that balance? And what tips could you give our listeners who might struggle with this?
Well, first of all, when you say it's about them learning, it's about teaching them to fish. So, that's the scenario that I think of, or the saying I think of. So you're right on point there. I appreciate you saying that. As far as balance, I would say it has got to be an intentional, purposeful point in time that you know how much it means or how important it is to each other and to like the individual. It's your couple, but you're also two individuals. So when we teach the groups, it is hard to not stop because you want to help as many couples as you want. But something that, like when my husband and I are talking, if he's distracted, I have this saying, listen to me with your face. So it's effort. It doesn't just happen. I mean, I don't know, like, I guess that's the main thing. It's intentional. It's knowing how important it is. You have to have it as a priority. I know we've all heard, we all have 24 hours in a day, all those things. But if you don't make a point of doing it, if you don't put it as that is key to your life, it won't happen because all the busyness will swarm in. And before you know it, the day's gone. And that's hard, especially, I have a daughter with 5 grandkids, and I have a daughter with 3, and their lives are nuts. And I'm glad I've already been through that, but I love being a grandma. Anyway, I can see where, especially when if we're ever there helping them out, because they live far from us, both of them. And I can see where it is very hard, especially when you have children. But yet, on the other hand, we don't have children. We're at home, and we still need to make sure we're intentional because the time flies by. I just turned 60 this year, and I'm like, where did that go? So I'm glad that we've been intentional, but yet on the other hand, it's a daily decision. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that really sums it up. So thank you for that. So my last question is, as a woman in business, because you recognize, and of course you're in business with your husband, but as a woman who's in business, and I know you have a business background, but not everyone has that as their background. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to women who may want to start their own businesses, but they're afraid to pursue it for, I don't know, maybe fear of that it's not going to work out or they won't do it right?
Fear is something that stops a lot of people. And it's fear of the unknown, I think, or too many times what are people going to think? I haven't had that, thankfully, because I know with such passion, this is what I'm supposed to do. But yet, on the other hand, those that haven't been in business may not have that confidence moving forward. And, can I tell a story?
Sure. I'd love to hear your story.
Okay. Something that happened when I was, I don't know, it was quite a few years ago. It was probably 15, 20 years ago. My dad had cancer, and he struggled like 7.5 years before he passed with that cancer. And I would at times bring him to his chemo or radiation, whatever it was. Well, one day we were sitting in the chemo room, and he was in the chair getting his chemo, and I was next to him. And we started talking about he always said when we were growing up, it's one step at a time or one day at a time, which we've all heard, right? And he looked at me with it just was so, I can still see it like it was today. It was just with so much meaning. And he said, well, Candy, now it's one drip at a time. And that has helped me. And I hope it helps somebody else to realize you're not going to be able to do it all. You're not going to be able to, but you're going to get stuck. You're going to have problems. We can't control our circumstances, but we can control how we react to our circumstances. And we have to remember that. So one drip, it adds up. It's hard to imagine, but that's the advice I guess I would give to someone starting out is, or wanting to do this. You can do one drip every day, or you can do 2 drips, whatever it is. It does eventually get to the point where you need to be. And that's what I use. That's what I try to make sure I remember.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. I really love that because I think it is about that one step at a time or that one drip at a time. We sometimes tend to try to race to the finish line and we miss out on so much, you know, if we're trying to race and instead like enjoy the process. I think a lot of it is that people think there is a destination, whereas I truly believe, and it's something I had written, I'm probably not going to even remember the entire quote, but it's our life is a journey. Mm-hmm. And it's always evolving. And it's really in essence that our destination is in the journey. It's we're not ever going to stop learning. And we're not ever going to, if we allow ourselves to, not stop living, not stop enjoying, not stop going after dreams and goals. And if it is only one, as you said, one drip at a time, that gets us closer and closer to that goal. It's better to continue, even if it's only baby steps, than to not at all. Right. Mm-hmm. So I really love that. So thanks for sharing that. I actually do have one last question that I'd like to ask you because it's around you specifically. So you had said in your Marriage Moments in a Minute series that you share valuable insights and personal experiences. So could you highlight one of these moments that had a profound impact on your own marriage and explain how it shaped your approach to helping other couples?
That's quite a question. I guess I go back to just a little story. I like stories. And I don't know if it's profound, but it's a fact. When we get married, it's, people are like the honeymoon stage or, love, and it's actually embellished. And the thing is love is a decision and it's a choice. So one of the things that I've talked about in there is I love my husband. And there's no doubt about that. He loves me. And we're not ill-willed. I heard that from a speaker one time. We don't get up in the morning saying, okay, what can I do to get him mad at me? I mean, that's not our purpose. Our mind doesn't go there. At least I hope it doesn't go there. But so it's not just about the love. It's about, do you like them? You got to like them too. And too many times we don't like, sometimes, the familiarity sayings, it's true. But the reason why doesn't happen is because it's got to be, it takes some effort sometimes, especially when you're really frustrated or they're really doing stuff that makes you mad or whatever. So it's a conscious decision. I love them. I may not like what they're doing, but I love them and I'm going to continue to love them. And sometimes I don't like Gary. I got to be honest. And that's exactly, you need to know that that's normal. It's okay. That doesn't mean that there's a problem. And another thing that I guess we always say is never, ever say the D word, divorce. That should never come up. Never. Because why? You are committed. You need to focus on that. There is solutions to your problems. Those problems are usually short-lived. We've been through a lot in our marriage. Actually, this is my second marriage, and I don't know if many people know that. I came from an abusive first marriage, mostly verbally, but to tell you the truth, the hit versus the verbal is much harder. His second marriage, I won't get into, but he didn't want the divorce to happen. It was he was blindsided by it, to be honest. So we have learned we haven't had it easy. I mean, I was a single mom. I had to raise 2 daughters without any financial help. That was tough, very tough. But it's continuing to go. I think I got sidetracked on that. Sorry, I do that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But yeah, but it's, and we had, like, my dad had cancer, my mom had dementia, my husband had cancer. We had to send our daughter away because she went off the deep end, which was, very, very difficult. She had 5 kids. 2 of them are preemies and the others are micro preemies. And one continued to have to go to the hospital. There was a few times we thought that we'd lose her. So you got to remember, you don't know, especially if you're apart from each other during the day, you don't know what your spouse went through. You don't know how hard a day they had, or if someone they knew, like my husband got a call that, like, one of his clients just passed unexpectedly. I mean, I didn't know that unless he would have told me that. That's why we actually make a point when he gets home, and we used to do this with the kids. They knew we had 15 to 20 minutes, and we intentionally communicated with each other. And like I said, I'm going sidetracked, but
no, I love it. I love what you shared. I so love that because especially when you're talking about the family connection part, it just seems like I started noticing a trend that, kids were spending way too much time with their Game Boys or their whatever, in front of their computers, in front of some kind of tech, and not really communicating and spending time as a family, sitting around the dinner table, taking time
That's
to
my thought
ask how your day, asking how is your day, what did you do today, how was school, learning just to continue supporting each other. That's what I love. So not only are you focusing on building stronger marriages, but through that process, I really feel it's building stronger families. Yep. Through the strength of the parents and being able to show their children what a strong union looks like. So when their children go out to do they find their person and they get married, and then they decide they're ready to start a family, that they've already had some really good role models to mirror, or at least to be able to go back and say, hey, mom and dad, did you experience this? This is what we're experiencing, but not looking at it from a point of like, I'm bashing my partner, but as a couple, maybe coming to the parents as a couple saying, hey, we have questions. Can you help us? So I love this. And I really, really love what you and your husband are doing. So thanks so much for sharing today and sharing your story, like some of the personal parts of your story, because I think this is what will really help our audience connect more to what you're doing, because they're seeing you are not only helping other people, but you've lived through some of these challenges of your own, and you're helping your community work through those challenges as well. What you learn, you're helping others. So I'm so excited for what you and your husband are doing in your community and how you're helping them have really great and solid relationships. As I said, I'm happy that you both are doing this work because it's just so needed.
And to tell you the truth, like I said, it doesn't feel like work. It's our passion. Yeah. I'm one of those that gets up in the morning or doesn't go to bed at night because I am doing what I know that I love. And, I'm blessed that way. I'm very fortunate. And I thank you for letting me come on here and talk about what we do. And I got lots of stories if you ever want to hear more.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I definitely am going to make sure that the show notes provide our listeners with how they can get in touch with you, because you just, again, marriage is not, people get into, as you were saying, the honeymoon stage is great. The honeymoon stage of a new relationship. And then things start to get real. When you get married, it's not about the wedding day and then you ride off into the sunset. It becomes real. And it is a form of work, but it's a form of work that allows you to actually really honor your vows of going through life together. And you can build such a beautiful life if you take that intentional time to really work through things and allowing each other to be seen and heard.
Can I say one more thing?
Speak with me. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, when you mentioned the honeymoon phase, what people plan for their wedding, they don't plan for their marriage. If people put as much time in planning for their marriage as they did their wedding, their marriage would be even better. And I think that's just a little tidbit that hopefully makes some people think.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's a great way, great words of advice to someone. Again, yeah, the wedding is great. The honeymoon afterwards is great, but it's the life part that you really should be, think about what that's going to really look like for the two of you. And are you willing to put in the time to make it work? Because a lifetime is not a couple of years. A lifetime is your entire life. So looking at it from that perspective. So thank you again. I appreciate you
Leslie,
taking time. And to our
fun.
Listeners, yeah, thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and an amazing week. I hope you enjoyed what you've heard today, and definitely check out the show notes to see how you can get in touch with Candy and Gary and maybe become part of their community. And until then, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time. Electric acid.